Hello, my name is Certified Moth. Thank you for stopping into my video, and I am filming this video I don't know, 8 hours after getting back from my vacation. I just got back from Costa Rica. That's pretty silly and awesome, and I thought maybe it'd be fun to document the art I made on this trip. I didn't do any heavy documenting because at its core this was a leisure trip, not an art trip. So I had my tripod, but I literally never set it up because I didn't want my art to be about content, but I still wanted to document what I was making just to sort of show what my workflow is when there's absolutely zero pressure on me to do anything. Because usually my workflow is entirely dictated by making videos and making school projects. So yeah, I just thought this would be an interesting way to both show the kind of art I make on vacation and also the way my workflow changes. Nice, let's get on with it. Our first flight was overnight, and I am not the kind of person to ever turn on the overhead light in a flight, so I literally just did some doodling on my iPad. I was playing around with this color palette that I'm thinking of using in a project later. But yeah, I was kind of miserable on this flight and I didn't have any desire to make art. Kind of understandable. It was 7 hours long through the middle of the night. After landing, I honestly had no energy or motivation to do any art, probably because I didn't sleep the entire flight basically. But after a little while and a nap, I ended up using my watercolor paints and painting this houseplant that was in the place we were staying. You can definitely tell this is my first watercolor painting in probably several years at this point. I really have not picked up watercolors for quite a while, so you can tell I was struggling a little bit, especially with just saturation color. I had no clue how much water this paper could take. I really had no clue what I was doing. This drawing probably did end up being my least favorite of all the ones I did on the trip. Maybe. I don't know, yeah, I mean, you can tell I was tired and I was out of practice, but it's still fun and funky. But by the time I moved on to this piece, you can definitely tell I was already a lot more confident in my watercolor skills. I knew this paper could handle at least a little bit of water, maybe not the most, but I knew that it could handle some washes and stuff without completely collapsing, so I was a bit more willing to do that. And then I also broke out the gouache for this piece, just for the water reflections. Yeah, honestly, I am very happy with this. I would say this is probably one of the better things I made on this trip, if not the best. It's kind of sad that it has the crease in the sketchbook, but whatever, what can you do? Also, my favorite part of this piece is this little kitty cat that I saw walking along the fence. I didn't take a picture of it, so I had to add it to the painting. Then, when we were getting dinner, I broke out my pad of really nice watercolor paper. Oh my goodness, everything sat so nicely on it. I really wished I had more of it, but I painted the scene from the place we were eating at. I also painted this little kitty because it was an hour and a half, 2-hour wait for our food, so I had plenty of time. And it's kind of weird because I haven't had the inspiration to do character art in a long time, but randomly out of nowhere on this vacation I suddenly had inspiration to draw people again. So I drew just these little characters. Yeah. I guess I was just in the mood to draw some people in swimsuits. Not my best work, but I'm kind of out of practice, but I do really like the tan lines on this piece. I thought it was cute. Then I was trying to use up some leftover bits of gouache here. You can tell that I was not using the full saturation or opaqueness of it. Yeah, I was just trying to use up some stuff and clean up my palette before putting it away for the night, so understandably this isn't very good. I did end up going in and lining this a little bit more later, but this is what I left it at for the night. But I actually had a lot of fun with that last bit, so I decided to do a full piece in gouache. I wanted to do the same thing I was doing on my iPad, where I'm using just this bright green and white. I really like how this one turned out. I think this is another one of my favorites from the trip. Some of the facial proportions are off, but honestly, I just think it's a lot of fun. Yeah, I took a reference of me in the pool, because the place we were staying at had this pool with the light up lights. Hold on. There's a clip of it. Kind of awesome. Kind of cool reference material. I honestly wasn't creating a ton on this trip. I was like just sitting around a lot because I'm so burnt out from art school right now. But we went to a beach and I decided to do some watercolor painting from there. I definitely overworked the piece. Like, I should have left it at this point, but I continued overworking it, which is kind of sad. One thing I wish I had painted or drawn a bit more of is just like the greenery here. It's so green here compared to how it is back home in Canada right now. But yeah, you can see, I think this is about the point where I started overworking this painting. I was working on it across a couple of days and I just didn't know where to stop, which is unfortunate because I think it had some potential. Then I was stressing out about my projects once I got back home to school, so I was trying to do some like concept exploration. I don't think I'm going with either of these concepts, but I was just really stressed out about having no ideas. Yeah, even going on vacation doesn't save me from the stress of art school. It was kind of rough. This was just more concept exploration. I was doing some studies of bugs, but they're bugs wearing party hats, which I thought was a lot of fun. I'm not usually a big like bug person. I don't usually draw or paint them a lot, but I think just being in a place that has so many bugs compared to back home where like everything is dead and there's no bugs right now, I think I just had bugs on the mind. But I had a lot of fun doing this page. I didn't really do nearly as much drawing from life as I'd planned to on this trip, which, like, whatever, but I decided to do a bit when I went out for drinks with my parents this night. I just drew some kid at another table. Maybe I should have chose somebody that was moving around less, because this kid was like up and out of their seat and like back down and like turning around, and I was getting frustrated, but whatever. I kind of wish I'd been doing a bit more documenting of like when the days were passing, because this is already near the end of my trip. But I was getting really into my crochet project near the end of this trip. Oh yeah, I got both my ears got infected and I had to go to the clinic and get an IV antibiotic. That was kind of cool. But back to more crocheting. Yeah, I was working on a shirt during this last part of the trip. I think, yeah, it was the Fairy Fae pattern by Hopey Dopey. I really like that pattern. I've seen a lot of videos of it, so I finally bought it for the trip. I did mismeasure the whole thing and I had to pull out a bunch of rows of stitches, but it was like whatever. I was working outside on the little chair hammock. I honestly thought I would work outside way more on this trip, but I ended up realizing that like I can deal with like 35-degree heat. I can't deal with humidity. I come from a very, very dry place. I can do heat, I can't do humidity. I was basically inside most of the trip if I wasn't swimming. And then for these last couple days, because my ears were infected, I couldn't do swimming, so I mostly just sat inside and crocheted, which was still a lot of fun. Kind of right near the end of the trip, like the last couple of days, I was like, oh my god, I haven't tanned at all. So I tried to sit outside and draw. I couldn't. It was just kind of miserable out there. But I did do just a little bit more drawing from life. I drew my foot. But yeah, I really ended up being in more of a crocheting mood near the end of this trip than a drawing mood, which is fair. I think I'm just like a little bit burnt out of drawing and painting right now. It's just like, I don't know, I think I just need a full summer this year of just not doing barely any drawing or painting because I've just done too much, I think. Then I was doing a lot more character drawing. I had just been watching an Actually Ray sketchbook tour video thing, and of course every time I watch one of their videos, I immediately like, my entire style changes and my sketchbooking practice changes for like probably a week or two afterwards. So yeah, I was doing some character work, just some doodles of like this sort of demony magic girl. Kind of fun. You can tell I was getting a bit more into practice by the second page. Kind of cute. But yeah, that was actually the last night of our trip that I drew that. We ended up driving back to the airport at like 3 or 4 a.m. and I mostly just did more crocheting in the airport, sitting on the floor because I needed to charge my new headphones because I couldn't use my earbuds because my ears were still infected. Yeah, I think it's kind of funny that I didn't really start doing any of my crocheting until like the last couple days I was there, because I had originally brought it as like a hope that I could wear it on the trip, and it was nowhere near being done by the end of the trip. But yeah, back on the plane, it was definitely a lot nicer of a flight. I drew a lot more on it just because it wasn't the middle of the night, it was like a morning flight, so I wasn't entirely exhausted and I was able to see a bit better because people had their windows open. And I even broke out the watercolors on the plane, which I'd originally not planned on doing just because it's annoying, but I colored in a couple of these sketches, which were very quite cute. But yeah, I only really did 3 pages on the plane, these two, and then a little study of the person in front of me. I don't know, I just wasn't really feeling it this day. I think I'm just burnt out of drawing right now, which is fair. So a couple of people, or maybe it was just one person, was interested in seeing if I actually managed to pack as light as I wanted to. Basically, in my video leading up to this one, I explained that I wanted to try not bring a whole bunch of supplies that I wouldn't end up using. So I'm just going to do a little quick run through of everything I brought and whether or not I used it. So out of my papers, sketchbook I used the most. Only used this paper once. I wish I hadn't brought it. It really wasn't good quality. My little pad of Stonehenge. I didn't use it that much, but I'm really happy I brought it. It's a very nice quality paper, and when I did use it, I had a lot of fun. On to the paints and watercolors. My palette, I used more than I thought I would. My gouache, I don't think, well actually no, I think I needed it for a couple of things, but it wasn't like the most crucial thing in my kit. I mostly used the white, which is fair. I'm used to working in acrylics where I can go back in with white afterwards, and it's kind of hard to transition to watercolor. My watercolor palette, obviously, I used this probably the most out of any of the supplies. Had a lot of fun with that. I brought with me 4 brushes, if I can find them all. I used this one for washes, barely used this one, and then I used these two quite a bit. I think I used this blunt end brush a little bit more than the tapered end, which was interesting. I usually don't go for those as often. Watercolor pencils, barely used them. I didn't think I would, but I brought them just in case. They're interesting, I've just never been super into them. Various other art supplies. I didn't use pencil once on the trip. I could have left all my pencils at home and I would have been fine. Used my ballpoint pen, that was cool. Used my Tombow calligraphy pen, very nice. I forgot to use my purple micron. I think this purple micron would be so fun to do some like watercolor plant studies with, and I didn't do it. I hope I have some good pictures of plants, otherwise I'll be upset. I want to try to do that again later. I probably could have left this entire pencil case home, but honestly, like my normal pencil case is probably triple the size of this, maybe more. So even though I didn't use any of this stuff, it's not really a big deal that I brought it. And I did technically, I used 2 of the mild liners here out of 6. So it wasn't a complete waste, but I didn't really need them. Oh well, I'll know for next time that I'm not a big marker user on vacation. I don't really know, I'd never really brought highlighters or markers with me before, so what can you do? I'm like 90% sure that was everything I brought. I guess the last thing I could talk about is this bag as a whole. I was talking about how it is quite heavy. It is, because it has this hard plate on the back, which lets you prop it up and use it as a little travel easel, which is very nice. But I didn't really know what to expect with the Costa Rican weather, and I really found that it was too hot and too humid to go out sketching. Like, there are definitely vacations I've been on, even vacations like to beaches and stuff, where it's been cool to go out and sketch, but it was just really too hot. If I wasn't in the water, I was inside really. So I used this to its full potential once, which is fine, you know? I'd say that was less of a packing fault and more of a just I had no idea what to expect going from middle of winter Alberta into like the equator. But anyways, yes, that is all the art supplies I brought. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and thank you to everyone who has been interested in my trip so far. It's kind of neat to share. I haven't really done any videos around like vacation-y stuff before. I honestly don't even think I've gone on any real big vacations since starting my channel, unless I have and I forgot. But anyways, thank you so much for watching until the end. Bye!